impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired.
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. Lots to get to on a very busy news day, but let's start with the latest headlines. Ukraine says it launched a cross-border attack into the northern Russian province of Kursk Oblast. Moscow, however, claims the Ukrainian attack was successfully thwarted. Russia sends a warship to Venezuela in support of Nicolas Maduro. Maduro is facing growing domestic and international pressure after being declared the winner of the presidential election last week that many are still disputing. The United States pledges humanitarian aid worth $414 million to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Washington is also donating 50,000 Mpox vaccines amidst an ongoing outbreak in Central Africa. A hotel collapse kills at least 2 and wounds another 8 in southwestern Germany. Authorities launch an investigation into the deadly collapse. And South Korea sets up a special anti-narcotics task force citing large drug smuggling attempts from Mexico. Seoul says inflows of drugs from Mexico increased after the two nations resumed direct flights for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. We begin in the United States. After much speculation, Kamala Harris introduced her running mate, Tim Walz, at a rally in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania yesterday. Casting their campaign as a fight for the future, Harris and Walz were greeted with loud, enthusiastic cheers and chants. Arriving on stage to Beyonce's Freedom, the Minnesota governor thanked Kamala Harris for choosing him as her running mate. And not long after addressing the crowd, Walz began verbally attacking Republican Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance.
He drove our economy into the ground, and make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed. I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see.
Now supporters are ecstatic with Kamala Harris picking Tim Walz as her running mate. In fact, the Harris campaign announced raising a whopping $20 million in the hours just after announcing this election.
I love the energy of everyone coming together and being joyful and just all being on the same page.
I think, it's also the energy, the crowd, the audience. I definitely think it was great,
I felt so happy being around so many supportive people. Kamala 24!
Additionally, senior Democrats, including former President Barack Obama and former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, also put their weight behind the Walz pick. Hailing from the Midwestern state of Minnesota, Tim Walz was a high school teacher and football coach before he began his political career back in 2004. He also served in the National Guard for over 2 decades and retired as a command sergeant major a year before entering politics. In 2006, Walz ran for office in Minnesota's 1st District, where only one Democrat had won in the last century. He went on to win 53% of the vote and held onto the rural district for 12 years before deciding to run for governor in 2018. In 2022, Walz was reelected for a second term, orchestrating a Democratic win in the state House and Senate for the first time in 8 years. Apart from his energetic and enthusiastic vibe, Walz also boasts an impressive record as governor, increasing funding for education, introducing free meals in schools, and creating a system of paid family leave. Now on foreign policy, Walz has been a staunch critic of Vladimir Putin for invading Ukraine, but has remained rather cautious on the war in Gaza. Of course, the first rule in picking a running mate is first do no harm, and Governor Walz certainly epitomizes that mantra, a dark horse pick that many thought had an outside chance of being selected by the vice president. However, endorsements from major union leaders and his recent media appearances saw him quickly gain a loyal following among rank-and-file Democrats. The Minnesota governor, who is just 6 months older than Kamala Harris, is widely seen as a jovial school teacher and football coach who brandishes a message to unite America. And staying in the United States, a Pakistani national has been charged with plotting to assassinate top political figures on American soil, including Donald Trump. 46-year-old Asif Marchant allegedly tried to hire hitmen who were in fact undercover FBI agents. The suspect is said to have ties with Iran, and he wanted to avenge the death of top Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani, who was killed on the orders of former President Donald Trump when he was in office in 2020. Our latest report gets you more details about the alleged murder-for-hire plot.
This is Asif Raza Merchant, a 46-year-old man from Pakistan. He arrived in the United States in April only to land in a New York prison last month. Merchant is accused of seeking to hire a hitman to assassinate prominent American politicians and officials. Now he's formally charged over his alleged murder-for-hire plot. But hold on, Merchant's story has more twists than that. The US Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, says that the Pakistani national has alleged ties to the Iranian government. He reportedly spent some time in Iran before heading to the US from Pakistan in April. Merchant then contacted a person to help him with his assassination plans. He asked them to arrange a meeting with the would-be assassins. However, that person instead exposed him to undercover FBI agents. FBI Director Christopher Wray says Merchant's dangerous plans were straight out of the Iranian playbook. Court documents reveal that the Pakistani suspect wanted to target American citizens who were quote-unquote hurting Pakistan and the Muslim world. And his long list of targets allegedly included former President Donald Trump. The FBI foiled Merchant's plot in June, and this very same case prompted the US government to increase security of Trump, who survived an assassination attempt later in July. However, Merchant's plot was unrelated to the attack on the former president. The latest case adds to a growing list of detailed Iranian plans to allegedly kill Trump, who has been facing such threats for more than 4 years. In 2020, the former president ordered the killing of a top commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, Qasem Soleimani. He was assassinated by an American drone strike in Iraq's Baghdad. And now the US claims that Merchant was carrying out the plot to avenge the killing of the Iranian military officer. But the Iranian mission to the United Nations in New York has condemned these allegations, saying Tehran believes in legally prosecuting Soleimani's murderer. Though its response contradicts allegations leveled by the US, which has time and again thwarted its conspiracies to carry out political assassinations on the American soil.
And staying with Donald Trump, the former president has added fuel to a very wild conspiracy theory about Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The former president recently appeared in an interview with online streamer Aiden Ross, where he said Justin Trudeau could be the son of former Cuban President Fidel Castro. Shown a photo of the Canadian leader, Donald Trump said, quote, "They say he is the son of Fidel Castro and could be. I mean, anything's possible in this world, you know," end quote. The baseless theory stems from the close relationship between Justin Trudeau's family and the late president of Cuba. His father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the former Prime Minister of Canada, first visited Castro in 1976 with his wife Margaret and their youngest son Michael. Justin Trudeau, who is 4 years older than Michael, also visited Cuba as a child. Now, back in 2000, Castro served as an honorary pallbearer at Pierre Elliott Trudeau's funeral. And when the former Cuban president died in 2016, Prime Minister Trudeau called him a legendary revolutionary while avoiding commenting on his controversial life. Now, even though Donald Trump made questionable comments about Trudeau in the interview, he did claim to get along well with the Canadian leader. Donald Trump and the Prime Minister's relationship was a rocky one when the former U.S. president was in fact in office. In 2018, Donald Trump furiously left Canada after attending the G7 summit and later called the Canadian leader dishonest and very weak. At the 2019 NATO summit, the Prime Minister appeared to joke about Donald Trump in a hot mic moment with other world leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron, then UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and Dutch leader Mark Rutte. Now, with Donald Trump running for president once again, it's unclear how the two leaders in fact might react to one another if Trump is reelected. The U.S. and Canada have maintained a very, very close and special relationship dating back over a century. One can only guess if it can hold should Donald Trump retake the White House in November. And moving to the Middle East, just a day after Hamas appointed Yahya Sinwar as their new political chief, the Russian president urged Iran to tread with caution. Vladimir Putin called on Tehran to show restraint in its retaliation against Israel following the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Now, this call for calm comes as the region braces for Iran's pledge to respond to Haniyeh's killing, which it blames squarely on Israel. Putin's top aide, Sergei Shoigu, conveyed the Russian president's message to top Iranian officials on Monday, advising against attacks on Israeli civilians. Now, despite this, Tehran has been pushing Moscow for more weapons, including air defense systems and fighter jets.
The issues that were discussed at the meeting with the newly elected president and with the Secretary of the Security Council. We covered the whole range of topics, all the questions, starting from Syria, undoubtedly alarming events on the border of Lebanon and Israel, and of course, the latest events that happened in Tehran, tragic events. This topic could not be bypassed.
Meanwhile, Iran-backed Hezbollah launched a fresh barrage of attack drones and missiles at Israeli military targets. Now, according to Israel's army, most of these projectiles were intercepted, while the remaining few fell in open areas, resulting in fires in some places. In response, the Israeli Air Force struck 2 Hezbollah facilities in southern Lebanon. In a televised speech on Tuesday, the leader of Hezbollah promised to respond to the killing of senior commander Fouad Shukr in Beirut just last week. The Hezbollah chief said the Lebanese militia group would wait for the right moment to strike Israel.
The region today faces real dangers. Everyone must understand the dimensions of the current battle and its dangers. Everyone must understand its dangers to Palestine. The goal of this battle is to prevent Israel from winning, to prevent Israel from eliminating the Palestinian resistance, to prevent Israel from eliminating the threatened Palestinian cause. This must be a goal, because if Israel succeeds in this goal, all the region, as I mentioned a while ago, will be in danger.
Now, as the talk of war ratchets up, President Joe Biden held urgent talks with the leaders of Egypt and Qatar, aiming to de-escalate regional tensions as well as push for an immediate ceasefire and hostage release. The Biden administration has warned of the severe risk of a major conflict, stressing the importance of Iran and Hezbollah's measured responses.
We continue to work intensely to de-escalate tensions in the Middle East and to prevent the spread of conflict. Over the past few days, we've been in constant contact with partners in the region and well beyond. In those conversations, we've heard a clear consensus. No one should escalate this conflict. We've been engaged in intense diplomacy with allies and partners, communicating that message directly to Iran. We've communicated that message directly to Israel. Our commitment to Israel's security is ironclad. We will continue to defend Israel against attacks from terrorist groups or their sponsors, just as we'll continue to defend our troops.
Now, despite these efforts, Iran has vowed severe retaliation. Additionally, Hezbollah has indicated that a retaliatory strike is inevitable, suggesting diplomacy is no longer an option. So as the region stands on the brink of a major conflict, one question looms large. Exactly how will Iran's response shape the future of the Middle East? And finally, have you ever wondered what happens to your old phones and laptops once you toss them away? Well, in the United Kingdom, the Royal Mint, known for its coins, has embarked on a groundbreaking journey to mine gold from electronic waste. Britain intends to retrieve gold worth $34 million from discarded electronic gadgets every single year. So how, in fact, are they turning trash into treasure? Our final report brings you all the details.
In the heart of Wales, the Royal Mint, the United Kingdom's official coin maker, has found a new way to shine. Known for crafting coins, the Mint has turned its attention to the mountain of discarded electronics. 4 hours away from London, the Royal Mint has built an e-waste recycling plant in Lantrizont, and this large industrial plant extracts gold from electronic waste. You see, e-waste is a growing problem, with the UN reporting that 62 million tons were thrown away in 2022. The pile of old phones, computers and TVs is expected to increase to 165 million tons by 2030. Seeing an opportunity amid this trash, the Royal Mint has stepped in to strike gold. The head of sustainability at the Royal Mint calls it urban mining. Piles of circuit boards are fed into the facility, where they are heated to remove various components. Coils, capacitors, pins and transistors are sieved and sorted, with anything containing gold set aside. The gold-laden pieces are then taken to an on-site chemical plant. Here, a revolutionary process unfolds. Instead of the traditional energy-intensive methods that use toxic chemicals, the Royal Mint employs a low-energy, recyclable chemical solution at room temperature. This solution then leaches the gold into a liquid, which is then filtered, leaving behind pure gold powder. This powder is then heated in a furnace, transforming it into gleaming nuggets. Leighton John, the operations director, highlights the importance of this innovation. He said traditional gold recovery processes are very energy intensive. Our method uses low energy and pulls gold really quick. With the UK being the second largest producer of tech trash per capita, the Royal Mint has no shortage of e-waste. Topping them is Norway, while third in line is Switzerland, followed by Denmark and Australia. To untrash the country from old electronic junk, the Royal Mint's goal is to process over 4,000 tons of e-waste annually, generating up to 450 kilograms of gold worth over $34 million. Beyond gold, the Royal Mint is also exploring uses for other materials extracted from circuit boards, like aluminum, copper, tin and steel. They are even considering using ground-up boards in the construction industry. The Royal Mint's venture into e-waste processing addresses a modern problem, turning yesterday's trash into tomorrow's treasure.
We certainly thank you for tuning in once again. We hope to see you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired!
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories